Everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well. Public notice statement, please, Madam Secretary.
President Fiordaliso, we haven't started the webinar quite just yet. We are in a practice session. So
Who's
just wait
talking
a
to
few
me?
seconds.
That's Geraldine.
Oh, hi, Geraldine.
Good morning.
The BPU logo.
Oh, we
Yep,
haven't
that's
started
me.
yet?
No, we were in a practice session. So just cautioning everybody, if you don't want to be on camera, please turn off your camera at this point. I'm going to start.
Welcome all of you to our regularly scheduled quarterly meeting, which gives folks an opportunity to talk to us.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, everybody. I hope all is well. I want to welcome you to our regularly scheduled quarterly meeting, which gives folks an opportunity to talk to the commission on a more informal basis and express views that we are always receptive to listening to, because it input of you as citizens is extremely important to us and important in helping us to make decisions, policy decisions, and so on. These meetings, we believe, are worthwhile because ultimately this is your government and you should have an idea of thinking, and we want to know what you're thinking. With that, would you read the public notice statement, Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, Commissioners. Adequate public notice has been given pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice having been posted at the board's office and website and emailed to the Department of State and to newspapers of broad circulation within the state.
Thank you. And would you take roll?
Commissioner Holden,
Here.
Commissioner Solomon. She was on.
Yeah, here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Gordon,
Here.
Commissioner Krista DeLu,
He's muted.
You're muted, Zion.
Sorry, everyone.
So
Commissioner Krista DeLu,
your apology means you're here.
I'm here.
Okay.
President Fiordaliso.
Present. As you can see, all of our we're all together as a commission and so on. I would like to again welcome you to this quarterly public comment meeting of 2022. And these meetings, as I indicated, are intended to increase the board's accessibility and transparency, and to give members of the public an opportunity to speak directly to the board's commissioners on important issues of public interest. I want to acknowledge that next week is Clean Energy Week. Please follow the board on the social media for events and information celebrating Clean Energy Week. And every year, Clean Energy Week seems to become more and more important. Our Clean Energy Conference, first one we've had in many, many years, will take place on October 3rd and 4th in Atlantic City. For additional information or to sign up, please visit the board's website. This is going to be an informative, educational event, and one that's going to give you an idea of where the state is going as far as clean energy is concerned, and the path that we are currently on. And again, with your input, hopefully we get on that right path. And I think we are on the right path, but we always want to know what you think. And again, for additional information about our conference, or to sign up, visit our website. It's in Atlantic City, so I mean, it provides an opportunity to maybe come home as a millionaire. Who knows? And you never know. What do they say with the lottery? Anything can happen in Jersey. So here we are. Today's quarterly public meeting gives members of the public the opportunity to speak directly to us and on these very important topics. We ask speakers to keep their comments brief, and if you have detailed written comments, you can submit them to the board secretary and summarize them here. And they're taken into consideration just as much as your verbal comments are concerned. So it's not really necessary to repeat yourself. If you just want to summarize your written comments and we read those again, because we want to know what you're thinking. I would also note that you should avoid commenting on contested items before the board. We would not be able to discuss those because they are open dockets, and we're not permitted to really discuss those until we take action on them. But you're welcome to raise general policy issues for the board's consideration, general. So with that kind of layout, any of my colleagues want to make any opening statement or comments?
I just one that if there are written comments, Mr. President, I guess maybe that we haven't had the opportunity, if they're not there, if they're not too voluminous, maybe they can be distributed to the commissioners so that we, rather than have to individually request from the secretary's office, perhaps.
Sure, that's not a problem at all. Okay. As a reminder, if no one else has any comments, only pre-registered speakers will have the opportunity to speak and ask questions. We will not have a chat feature enabled and cannot accommodate anyone who didn't register to speak before the deadline. And that was widely advertised. And we really have to stick to those rules because we have, unfortunately, a limited amount of time. Members of the public who did not register will be able to watch the live stream on YouTube, just like we have for our regular board meetings. While anyone who wishes to submit testimony is encouraged to do so, even if you're not registered. In these meetings, we are especially interested in hearing from people who we would not get to hear from during our regular stakeholder meetings. We have many times we see the same people, I guess is what I'm saying. And that's great. We love getting their input. But we also want the input of those folks who don't show up to these stakeholder meetings. I'm sure you have ideas. I'm sure you have thoughts that may be beneficial to this commission and to the state of New Jersey. Now is the time we get to hear from you. Geraldine from our communications team will announce and unmute each speaker as we go along here. And we can go into our public comment period. Geraldine, are you ready?
Yes, I am, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. Our first
Good.
registered speaker is Michael McCarsky. You can now unmute yourself and provide your comment.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The sports commentator Pepper Brook from the movie Dodgeball famously stated, "It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it plays off for them." I speak, of course, of the lack of feasibility in alternative reality in which this board seems to operate. My name is Michael McCarsky, and I represent the Affordable for Energy New Jersey Coalition. We'll start with the most recent announcement on offshore wind, and then we'll move to our favorite topic, the board's being the least transparent board in the history of government and outright lying to push a narrative. This week, Governor Murphy announced that we would be adding thousands more megawatts of offshore wind to our goals, and that we would increase those goals to 2040, moving the timeline by a decade. We started at 7,500 megawatts by 2050 and have moved to 11,000 megawatts by 2040. Now, while this all sounds wonderful, practical science and reality would like to have a word with you all because clearly this administration has become delusional. It's September the 23rd, 2022. This administration and this board president have been in charge for 5 years now. And in that time, the state has sent out more press releases about wind than the total number of offshore wind turbines that have been installed. In case you're wondering, that turbine number right now is 0. In fact, the state has yet to plot exactly where in the ocean these turbines are going to go. We are not sitting on a stockpile of materials to construct these turbines, and the board doesn't know exactly where these transmission lines are going to make landfall. These are massive issues. If we think that the siting process is going to be smooth sailing, then we should think again. This board cannot perform a simple cost analysis, let alone manage an incredibly complicated land use issue. And we haven't even touched whether or not this project is going to be impacted by the new environmental justice process or how the climate pact regulations are going to alter their plans. So let's do some quick math. Here's a calculation. If we install one state-of-the-art 13 megawatt turbine every week, each week, for the next 18 years, we'll hit that 11,000 megawatt goal. Now that's if we started today. Now, again, this board and the environmental lobbyists will say that we're just going to use new technology and the process will be efficient. But again, the little thing called reality would like to have a word. The total number of global installation vessels right now is 50. However, many of them are already out of date for current technology, and nearly 2/3 of them are working or owned by the nation of China. There is not a single United States flagged or Jones Act compliant vessel on planet Earth. I say Jones Act because this board has yet to do anything to ensure that the workers on those vessels will be American. So we have 0 ships, 0 materials, nothing cited, and 0 idea how much this is going to cost New Jersey residents, which brings me to the embarrassing waste of taxpayer money that was the Brattle report. Perhaps someone can explain to me in what world can you take 3 years, spend millions of taxpayer dollars, and produce a quote work product that has no use in real life and still manage to keep your job? And I will continue to ask President Fiordaliso why he lied outright on video at December 2020's board meeting, saying that the entire purpose for this report was to take COVID into account. AENJ has that video. We put it on our social media in context. And yet nobody has ever mentioned why we have never taken COVID into account. The EMP boondoggle is going to cost taxpayers of this state nearly $1 trillion, and you're trying to find a way to make that go away. And for anyone that actually read that Brattle report, which we did and issued a peer review of, you actually have graphics in there to push a narrative that have absolutely no citation and no methodology. It's horrifying. It's time for reality to take hold. We have an opportunity to make New Jersey and the United States an energy independent by increasing our natural gas supply and then making the proper investments in our intermittent sources like wind and solar. The ready, fire, aim approach needs to stop. And it's time for this board to take responsibility and be held accountable. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Geraldine?
Next registered speaker is Laura Kami. You can now unmute yourself.
Hi, yes, Lauren Kami. Good morning, everyone. I'm a policy analyst at Ecogy Energy. We just have a few points to bring before the board regarding solar energy specifically. So first, on the transition incentive program, many projects requested extensions, petitioned for extensions with the TREC transition incentive program. The board's many rulings on the TREC extension petitions announced in mid-August, this past August, denied commercial project extensions while granting 2 to 6 month extensions for community solar and public projects. And this decision to favor public projects is unfair for private projects. It acts as a deterrent to private developers from developing solar in New Jersey and ultimately minimizes the progress towards the state's goal of having 100% carbon neutral electricity generation by 2050. And along the same line, with the time taken to review these petitions submitted to the board, it was just unreasonable to get this done in a timely fashion. Without prompt decisions on petitions, developers are left with project uncertainty, and with project uncertainty comes the lack of developers' willingness to build. So we have it in writing on Monday, September 12th, 2022, from a manager at the BPU's Division of Clean Energy, Scott Hunter, that, quote, petitions are currently being addressed in approximately 6 months. When there was a project deadline of 12 months, as was the case with the Transition Incentive TREC program, it's entirely unreasonable to take half of that time to process and address a petition on the project. To get a decision from the BPU on a petition to extend the TREC project deadline, which was in August in one of our cases, we would have had to submit a petition in February to leave 6 months for the BPU to issue a decision. In February, we were still aiming for the goal of project completion by the 12-month deadline, and many of our project disruptions occurred after February, so submitting a petition for extension was not our priority of focus at that time. The only other option would be for us, the developer, to entirely take on all the risk of our projects for 6 months while still spending resources to develop them while waiting for a petition decision from the board. Both scenarios are unreasonable, and EcoG respectfully asks the BPU to address TREC extension challenges to avoid developers leaving to more competitive neighboring markets. EcoG understands that general matters should be discussed here at this meeting, but I think our specific case is relevant for a larger conversation about administrative and processing timing challenges. And finally, we're seeking any update or information on the Community Solar Permanent Program. In many communications from the board and in a July newsletter, to reference one specifically, the board was set to release the Community Solar Permanent Program straw proposal in the third quarter of 2022, which ends in 1 week. I'm following up to see if that is coming out soon, and I'm eager to hear about the timeline of stakeholder engagement and the opportunity for submission of comments, as well as if the prediction of the program's guidelines of when that will come out, if that has been delayed at all. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for your comments, and stay alert as far as the straw proposal for community solar.
Yes, will do. Thank you.
Okay. Geraldine.
Mr. President, we have no additional registered speakers at this time.
Oh, my goodness. Well, then, on behalf of the board, I would like to thank you all for your comments we have heard here today. And as I said initially, we take those comments, whether they're verbal or written, into consideration in trying to make policy. And we are in a situation, as the entire world is in a situation, where, with the exception of a few isolated areas in the world, this clean energy, or these clean energy initiatives, are new to all of us. And we are trying to plot out, with the assistance of various groups, whether they agree with us or not, in trying to determine the best policy for the 9.3 million people who live in the state of New Jersey. New Jersey has developed into a national leader in many, many areas, whether it's solar, certainly now with offshore wind, and so on. We try to take a prudent approach in what we do. We do not take spaghetti and throw it up against the wall and hope something sticks. There's a lot of research and there's a lot of discussion in determining the best policy that's in the interest of the citizens of New Jersey. So I don't want anyone to leave here and think that we are just, shooting in the dark here. We take these initiatives very seriously. We too are ratepayers. We too want to make sure that the best possible programs are in effect. And sometimes, unfortunately, that does take trial and error, because we've never done this before, and we're open to suggestions. We're open to learn from our European allies, as an example, who have been doing certain things for years. The United States has been a late starter. New Jersey has not been, and so on. But in general, the United States has been a late starter in the initiatives. And the transition to 100% clean energy environment is down the road. It's not going to happen today. We're going to have gas, natural gas. In my opinion, we're going to need nuclear power for the foreseeable future until we're ready to make that transition. And that's what I mean about taking each step prudently, carefully, and to ensure the fact, or try to ensure the fact, that it's beneficial to the citizens of New Jersey. We're all not going to agree, but I think we can all agree, or I hope we can, that climate change is a real thing. It's happening. And our generation is going to be judged upon how we deal with it. Subsequent generations are going to evaluate what you and I do now and in the foreseeable future to mitigate the effects of climate change. If anyone did not register, wishes to submit comments after the meeting, as I said in the beginning, they may do so via the board secretary. And I'll give you the email address. It's board.secretary@bpu.nj.gov. And I'll say that again. board.secretary@bpu.nj.gov. And please do not be hesitant in sending in any written comments that you have, pro, con, whatever. And we read them all. And we learn from each and every one of them. The deadline to submit written comments is Thursday, October 20. So that gives you almost a month to submit those comments. Also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and all social media platforms. And again, our Clean Energy Conference, October 3 and 4 at Harrah's in Atlantic City. Please go on our website, find out the details, and we certainly hope to see you there. Do any of my colleagues wish to make any closing statements? If there are no other items, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Again, thank you very much. And we'll see you at the next quarterly meeting. Hopefully we'll see some of you at our regularly scheduled board meetings at 44 South Clinton Street in Trenton. And we'd love to see you. Thank you very much. Have a good and safe day.